Morning, Dad.
Hey, going for a run?
Yeah, you should join me like you used to.
Not with my old knees and back.
Try Xanthicin. It could really help. Plus, it's super safe, Dad, and it's good for your heart and brain.
Xanthicin fights aging with astaxanthin, nature's most powerful antioxidant. And with 3 times the absorption and superior purity, it's the brand physicians trust. Find it at getxantho.com and these retailers. Keep doing what you love with Xanthicin.
All right, everybody, how's it going? Welcome to episode 34 here on Hawaiʻi Football Now, presented by Xanthicin. Jordan Helle, Hunter Hughes back with you. We got a whole lot to recap. We are coming off of the Island Day spring game. Hunter was there. Our guy Jaron was there as well. Our producer, I was taking it in from afar. And there is a lot to discuss when it comes to what turned out to be, I think, a massive success there on campus for Timmy Chang's first spring game as head coach of his alma mater. We'll record this at 7 a.m. on Wednesday, set to release this tomorrow, Thursday, April 22nd. Big mahalo as well to our sponsors, Spectrum Mobile and Hawaii USA FCU, along with our good friends over at Xanthicin. All right, quick opening drive time. We mentioned it was pretty exciting last week. You've had it's been rolling on campus. Like 2 weekends ago, you had senior night for men's volleyball. You had baseball sweeping a series. You had softball playing a series. You had all kinds of things. And then last weekend, you had the spring game. So you had the build up to that, which we will get to in detail. And then this weekend, you got not one, but 2 Big West tournaments on campus. You've got the women's water polo tournament starting Thursday when this comes out. You got the men's volleyball tournament starting Thursday when this comes out. And so if you just go down to lower campus over the course of the next 3 days, and the water polo starts fairly early, they've staggered it kind of smartly. So you can basically watch every match, whether it's at the pool or in the arena. And of course, the University of Hawaii, top 2 seed in both water polo and men's volleyball. So they'll take action on Friday in the semifinal round, hoping to get to the championship game. The championship games are basically a doubleheader. Like the water polo starts late afternoon, and then the volleyball championship game starts at 7:30 on Saturday. And ideally, the University of Hawaii will be in both. You know, they're top 5 in the country in both sports. Both very, very good. Obviously, if Hawaii is in the men's volleyball championship game, you know, it's probably going to be close to full there at the Stan Sheriff Center down at the Kahanamoku Athletics Complex. They've been getting some good crowds for the water polo team as well, as they should, because they are really good. So just wanted to throw that out there, make sure if that wasn't on your radar, it is, because we obviously focus on the football program and whatnot, but I think there is a synergy being built there on campus and the momentum and everything. And that is, you know, it's been reciprocal with the football team, the football coach, the players sort of getting out there, supporting the spring sports, you know, in kind, supporting the new era of Coach Chang. And so, again, if you're around, go check it out. Like it's going to be action packed this weekend, and you're going to see some really, really good competition, both at the pool and in the arena. So just wanted to mention that, Hunter, because it's go time. It's go time for the spring sports there, and a chance for both teams to book their ticket to the NCAA tournaments.
Oh, totally. This is go time for both of those teams. And yeah, it's just an exciting time to be on campus, Jordan. To kind of move it back to the spring game, it was electric this past Saturday. I got there just after the conclusion of the reggae concert from the Rebel Soldiers, which they actually moved into the Stan Sheriff because of rain. And the rain stopped whenever that was done. And, you know, I was walking up through lower campus, and man, it's still kind of a new experience for me having a game day like atmosphere on lower campus, because we just never had that option before. We've always had Aloha Stadium, but walking up through lower campus, I mean, the band is going, the drums are echoing throughout the buildings. The fans are kind of leaking through the Stan Sheriff entryways down onto the concourse of Ching Complex. It was phenomenal. I mean, I've got goosebumps right now, even just thinking about what that was like, what that could potentially become if this sort of pattern is repeated during the actual season. I mean, fans are out there, masks are off finally. Like, we are moving forward and moving forward well into what the new future could look like for Hawaii football. And then you get down onto the field, and I will say there was a little bit more security, which you and I have talked about in the past, where yes, everyone is welcome, maybe not everyone welcome on the sidelines. Like, we need some sort of protection for our guys, which facility staff did a great job just kind of handling that. But kids running around, families are there. Obviously, a lot of my alumni, teammates and friends are down there. It was just a great game day atmosphere to be a UH football fan. And we got to watch some football too, which is always fun.
Yeah. And I think that's the big takeaway, right? And so that kind of gives us a nice springboard into this broader discussion. And so, you've shared a little bit of some of your big takeaways. You talked to a lot of people who went, and kind of universally, it seemed like people were thoroughly entertained, right? With everything. There was so much offered. The concert, like moving it indoors, kind of worked out really well. And I think a lot of people were intrigued by, hey, like, let's do something in the arena every game day. Just put something in there, right? A pregame, a tailgate, or something, right? Call it whatever you want, a concert, put some, musician, entertainment. But what I'm sure you talk to a lot of people, just knowing you, and you're going to go and kind of gauge and whatnot. But what was the sense that you got from just people there, patrons? You talked about, and we can bring up the alums, because there were a lot of dudes with recognizable faces down there, which is awesome to see. But just talking to people, what was the sense that you got as to how they experienced things, just as like fans coming out?
Yeah, I think the word buy-in, I guess that's two words, but people are buying in. Yeah, they're buying into the brotherhood. Talked with, past, teammates of mine that, what was it that made it special for us? Not just little game day environment kind of stuff like this, but we felt like we were restoring the pride to Pride Rock. That was the whole marketing scheme behind what Rolo tried to do for us. And, similarly, Timmy is trying to restore this Ohana feeling to UH football. I was talking with Coach Jared Ursua just outside the locker room, and he was saying it gives the guys on the team something tangible to hold on to. And I think the community too. It's not just football. Like, the last couple of years, let's put the coaching staff aside. Let's just focus on what happened with COVID. We were robbed of some of that Ohana, aloha, warmth that comes with anything with sports, and in the general public as well. Outside of that, we were robbed of so much. It felt like, okay, that is somewhat behind us now. We're moving forward effectively. And then just this little things like Coach Aron Ganat of the basketball team. The whole basketball team was down there. They did a moment during halftime of the spring game where they brought several other sports teams out there to be recognized in front of the fans and the faithful down on Ching Complex. They had this kind of really awesome local Hawaiian drum crew over in the corner that I don't know if they did that way back in the past, but it added a certain sort of flair and a warmth in between possessions, just having those guys banging on those drums. And then aside from football, the other thing that stands out to me is the new Hawaii ha'a that was revealed by the boys. And I tweeted it out after the game because it went way harder than anything we ever did. And we had two different ones. We had a haka in the Chow era, and then Rolo brought in a Hawaiian Ha'a, and they wrote a brand new one for the guys, and it was powerful, Jordan. Kind of a new ushering in of what is to come for Hawaii football with that Ha'a. It was awesome, man.
No, it's great, right? And they're it's so hard to quantify, right? Like energy and the buy-in that you talk about. It's just so hard to really sort of wrap your hands around that until they get on the field, like until it's the season. But it is building, and the momentum, I think, is tangible. Like you see it in the response from people who got to attend, from people who didn't get to attend. I'm here on Maui, and everywhere I go, like, people want to talk about football, and they want to talk about Timmy Chang, and again, what that does that translate to more wins? Does that translate to more dollars? Maybe people want to take the trip. They want to go watch a game. Maybe they want to buy the pay-per-view. Maybe they want to tune in and whatnot. But people, there's just energy, right? And to your point, a lot of that is the fact that things are opened up now, and that, it's just circumstance for sure. But the thing is, you got to be able to capitalize on that. Like
Totally.
you have to meet opportunity and seize it. And I think they are doing that with the program and the athletic program for sure. And so we mentioned some of the alums that were there. I mean, there were a ton, right? Guys like Chad Owens, right? Because his kid's on the team, which is still insane to me that he has a kid of college age. But I'm sure you talked to a lot of the guys you played with, the guys that you didn't play with. I asked you about the patrons in attendance, but I got to imagine those similar conversations were had with former players. And so what was that like? What's the sense you get from these guys who took the time out, a lot of them flying in for this date, not just dudes who live on island. There were a lot of those for sure.
Yeah.
The Leonard Peters and guys like that. But, what was the sense you got from the alums?
Yeah. I mean, it felt like people were coming out of the woodwork, and we don't do that for everybody. I think, let me amend that last statement. I think we would have, if we were allowed to, the last couple of years under the Todd Graham era, whether it be COVID, whether it be preference from that last coaching staff. But alumni, it was a very kind of publicly known thing, were not necessarily welcome at practice, at team events, in the same capacity that we're kind of used to being welcomed down there. So now that has been fixed and kind of restored, I mean, everyone's going to turn up. I mean, Samson Angwai was down there. Kalati Mateo, I was hanging out with him. John Ursua was there right before he heads for OTAs with Seattle. Obviously you mentioned Chad Owens. Other guys in the community like Coach Rich Miano was down there. And, he's an interesting one because not only are alumni there, but tons of incoming recruits are down there on the field. I think about the alumni, but I first of all think about all of the new guys that are trying to get a feeling of what football is all about, with that sort of coming in the next couple of years for them and you can tell, because they got the lanyard on, they've got, VIP or whatever, and they look like, a high school kid. You know exactly what they're there for. And they were excited. They're wanting to chop it up with who their position coach is going to be. And got to speak with some of those guys. And yeah, they're considering some other offers, but you could just see it in their eyes. They're stoked to see what Hawaii football is all about. And I felt like Saturday was a great representation of what that fully encompasses.
And it was a perfect marketing tool, right? Get these people in, get them hooked, and get them hopefully back when it comes to opening day, basically late August against Vanderbilt. Like that's the whole goal, right? Get these people to buy up tickets, get them to buy season tickets. Logistically, how did it work? It seemed like, the prepaid parking tickets were a great idea, sped things along, much less congestion traffic wise than, maybe people were anticipating. Parking seemed to be, at least there was a solid plan. The whole indoor outdoor thing adjustment based on the weather seemed to work quite well by moving the concert inside. That seemed to be, well attended, well received, especially amongst the students, which is a good thing, because I think you build that goodwill, and you hope that student section is bumping come game days. I think is awesome. But it seemed like it worked pretty well, just, I mean, logistically, because I think that is a big question mark for people, and maybe, the last hurdle to convince more people to come down, right? The announced attendance was in the thousands. The media sort of consensus was around 6,000 watching the spring game. I'm sure there were a lot more bodies down there on campus, whether they were taking in other activities, whether it was, just for the concert, whatever. I'm sure there were folks that didn't necessarily stick around for the game. And that's okay, because I think, you gotta give them a little taste of what it is, and hope they come back. And it's not your traditional necessarily game day in totality, right? I mean, it's a spring game. It's a little different. It's Hawaii versus Hawaii. Our esteemed producer Jaron pointed that out, right? It's a little odd, right? Like, who do you cheer for? The white team, the green team, like, right? Cheer for the offense, the defense, how the scoring. We're a little different, so totally understandable. But I think for folks, convincing them that, hey, it's worth trekking into Manoa, whether via traffic, whether parking, like all of that is convincing people that they've got that figured out. How did it all kind of work out for you?
Yeah, the first thing I think about for with regards to the students is that the student section was packed. That was one of the biggest issues whenever I was playing, was tons of people would turn up for the tailgate. I mean, the tailgate party was out of control at Aloha Stadium, but then no one would come to the game. It was like, come on, guys. I mean, it's not like other schools where you have to pay for student section tickets. It's 100% free. Like, how are we losing this battle with not getting them into the game? And so when you think about it, from a geography standpoint on lower campus, you give them a free concert in the Stand Sheriff, Rebel Soldiers. The thing obviously pops off. The thing's crowded. They're loving it. Now you move it to the spring game. They have to walk right by Ching Complex to get back to the dorms. So you either really don't like football, or you're just going to be funneled by the crowd right into the game, which worked perfectly in my mind. And then throw in there some libations, some drinks of choice that are down there on the field as well. It was a great game day atmosphere. And yeah, I'd be curious if there was any, additional tailgating going on in the parking structure, away from the watchful eye of the parking attendants. I'm sure some stuff was going on in there by our faithful season ticket holders up in the shadows in there. I'm sure it had to have been going on, which is awesome. I didn't see elsewhere if that was going on upper campus, just because I didn't get to go up there. But parking seemed great. Logistically speaking, I didn't have any issue getting out of campus. It just it felt light, it felt free and fun. I mean, joy. There was joy to be down on campus around football. It was just a great thing, Jordan. Everyone, my family, even, they saw a picture that our producer Jordan took, actually, and they're like, "You look really happy to be on lower to be watching football." And I was, and I think it was felt by a lot of people.
Yeah, it's funny that that picture from Jaron, he sent it to both of us, right? And you look extremely happy, and then there's like a lady behind you who's just mean mugging, and I was like, she is game face ready. So I just love the juxtaposition there.
She's rooting for Fresno.
She's just in the background. Yeah. She meant all business.
Yeah.
All business. Yeah. So I'm curious to see, what the university and the athletic program keeps, scraps, like what'll come the fall, what will they take from Saturday? Because obviously there were a lot of things I think that worked. Like, are the food trucks going to remain? Is $5 parking prepaid going to remain the same? Like, are they going to make it affordable and accessible? We get it. There's bills to pay and all that kind of thing. So I don't know what the plan is, but I'm curious to see, what sticks, the utilization of Stan Sheriff and the arena. Like, does that continue? So I don't know. I don't know the answers to. I don't know if they know the answers to these questions just yet, but I'm sure they're evaluating and figuring out how to make it even better, because by all accounts, pretty big success from a entertainment event standpoint. And
I think it's going to be an ongoing. I think it's going to be kind of an ongoing adjustment. Even with the adding of more stands to the chain complex, because we're still under that. What is it? 15,000 seat requirement for Division I level. At best, we might be at 9 right now. So we are going to see changes not only to the complex, but I'm sure game day environment and kind of what they plan to do with that. It's just cool to see effort, noticeable effort being done by this coaching staff, this organization. UH is doing it well right now, where we've kind of, it feels, lost the battle in the last couple of years. So it's going to continue, and I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, me too. And so we'll take a quick break, and then we'll get into the game itself, right? Because so much of the conversation is just like, what was the atmosphere like? How did it work? What are the people saying? All this kind of stuff. But they also, at the end of the day, the players got down to it, and these guys are fighting for jobs and fighting for spots. And we had some standouts, and we'll get into that when we rejoin you on the other side of this. But before we head to our halftime break, we got to tell you about this amazing supplement called astaxanthin. Hunter is a believer. He has given us his testimonial. Doctors and pharmacists recommended for everything from joint and muscle function, cholesterol health, cognitive function, even anti-aging. But did you know only one brand delivers 3 times more astaxanthin to your body, making it a better buy than the competition? That is Xanthicin, available at getxantho.com, Newtown Square Pharmacy, Down to Earth, Kaka'ako GNC stores, and Pharmacare Hawaii. Learn more at getxantho.com. All right, second half coming up.
This is Hawaiʻi Football Now from ESPN Honolulu.
All right, second half time here on Hawaiʻi Football Now. Jordan Hunter back with you. First half, spent a lot of time talking about everything off the field when it came to the Island Day spring game experience. But they still played the spring game, and very much of import is what took place, right? Who stood out? We can get into some of the details here, Hunter. Some of the stats a little bit incomplete, but did anything jump out to you observing the game? Player, position group, scheme, anything? What stood out to you kind of taking this whole thing in?
A couple things. I thought the defense played fantastic. And again, we're playing real football. So they're hitting, they're holding, different position groups are doing their thing because they're allowed to do that in this sort of unhinged or unrestrained, I should say, football environment. You don't always get a real good look at practice of what people are capable of until you're actually out there on the field. And I do have to tip my caps both to the coaches and to the players. Didn't see a whole lot of cheap shots. Felt like they were playing good, hard football. But that was one thing I mentioned on the last episode. You just never know. Spring is long. People get tired of each other in that locker room, and they're wanting to go hit somebody. So I thought it was good, clean, hard football, just in general. But a couple guys that stand out, of course, Dedric Parson, one of his first runs, ran right through the middle, made a little spin cut and kind of wooed the whole crowd. In traffic too, by the way, not everybody has the the footwork to be able to accomplish something like that and do it well. So he, in my mind, is the clear number one running back. Good to see him out there being healthy, some explosion. The wide receivers, I thought, had a great day. Obviously, that Tamatoa Mokaiao Ati Malala. Thank you for my pronunciation. Your grace there. Had a phenomenal day. Had 3 touchdowns. He was really kind of one of the main guys outside of Zion Bowens. It was just good to see the guys out there, and it's a big time quarterback battle right now. A lot of guys getting reps, a lot of guys in the mix, but and then another one, Shipley, out there doing his thing, our kicker. He looked fantastic. So a lot of great things across the board, Jordan. Yeah, we can dive in a little bit more with that.
Yeah, Shipley's a weapon. He really is.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And 55-yard field goal. It's a pretty big deal. And I get it. It's a little modified in the spring game, but still that kind of range is no joke. But yeah, you mentioned Tamatoa Mokiao Ati Malala, who had 3 touchdowns, 130 yards receiving, basically playing a half of football in that ball game. 5 receptions, I believe, unofficially. Christian Shimabuku from KHON Sports kept an unofficial tally if you want to check out his Twitter and get a little more in-depth on the numbers. But all 3 of those touchdowns coming from sophomore quarterback Jake Farrell. You'll remember he joined the program sort of during that COVID year. It was one of the early Todd Graham recruits out of the Arizona area. 12 of 16 through the air. He by far had the best numbers of any of the quarterbacks who played in the spring game, did Farrell. And again, all 3 of his touchdowns going to Tamatoa Mokiao Ati Malala. Braden Shager had a touchdown throw of his own to James Phillips on a 26-yard touchdown unofficially. Shager 5 of 8 for 100 yards, pretty respectable for sure. And then you mentioned Dedric Parson, who had his 16-yard touchdown for the Black Squad. Zion Bowens, 47-yard highlight reel type catch, his lone touchdown of the night from Shager. And then some of the other, more unofficial numbers. Parson, Christian had him for 7 rushes, 56 yards. Kyler Halverson had a 47-yard field goal. Zion Bowens' touchdown pass came from Armani Eden in the 3rd quarter, not Shager. Shager's touchdown went to James Phillips. I think I misspoke there. And then the other quarterback who Christian had some numbers for was Cam Cooper, who, struggled a little bit, 3 of 10 for just 15 yards. We saw guys get reps. Chad Owens Jr. got a few reps. Ephraim Tuliloa got some reps in there, as well as Armani Eden in the second half, varying degrees of success. And so, it kind of interesting, a guy in Tamatoa Mokiao Ati Malala who got a little bit of run last season, but really seems to be emerging. And guys like Zion Bowens, I think, are very much in the mix. James Phillips as sort of a hybrid guy, maybe that we saw last year, but there seem to be some weapons. Dedric Parson seems like the dude at running back for sure. And then defensively, it was Leonard Lee, the beleaguered Leonard Lee, who's sort of been in the middle of all kinds of, I don't want to say controversy, but it's just, he was one of the outspoken guys, left the program, not necessarily by his choice, is back in the program. And he had 2 picks, 1 in each half, and was basically the talk of the defense because of those interceptions. So you got a couple of local kids in Mokiao Ati Malala and Lee. Both of them have played at Kapolei, even though Tamatoa finished up at Campbell. So a couple of Everside boys. And, that's fun to see as well. I think that got people buzzing a little bit, some of those local kids doing well. And then I think a big question is going to be, right, like, who's the quarterback? Is it Jake Farrell? Is it Braden Shager? I don't know if we really know yet. I don't think the coaches know just yet. You mentioned the defense. I think, all accounts are that seemed to be the more further, that unit seemed to be a little further along. Yeah. And I think part of that is the continuity of Coach Yoro remaining on staff, knowing a lot of these guys, implementing a lot of the stuff that was already in place and putting his own spin on it. So yeah, kind of interesting. I guess we can start with the quarterbacks, because that's, I know that's your cup of tea, Hunter, and honestly, that's going to be the most important decision that this coaching staff makes in terms of how they move forward. So, was there anything that kind of led you to believe like, okay, maybe it's this guy, maybe it's not that guy, and sort of assessing the state of that quarterback group?
Yeah, to be honest, Jake Farrell surprised me. For the fans, he's number 5. He's our biggest quarterback just from a size and physicality standpoint. Reminds me a little bit of Taylor Graham, Jordan, if you remember him back in the 2013, 2014, 2015 era from Ohio State. Kind of just a big thumper, pocket guy. Not going to be too mobile, but looks big and strong back there in the pocket. And he did well. I thought made great decisions. Obviously that stat line's not bad. 12 of 16, 3 touchdowns. That's a pretty good day at the office right there. Shager by far, in my opinion, throws the best ball. Just from a QB critiquing standpoint, threw a phenomenal go ball on the sideline to Zion Bowens, hit him right in stride, right in front of me. Coincidentally, that was right where I was standing, and just looked beautiful in the air. And then 2 plays later, threw a little jump ball to James Phillips. And Shager, in my mind right now, is the clear number 1. I think Timmy, for just the sake of keeping competition stirring in the QB room, is kind of keeping all of that open-ended. In similar way, not saying what sort of an offensive scheme they're going to run, protecting themselves as a coaching staff, protecting their team just from scrutiny and different things like that, because there's tons of options still in front of them to be determined. But I think the defense is a much stronger and ready to play unit right now, specifically because the quarterback position is yet to be determined right now. I think they are kind of positioning themselves for kind of a midnight, twilight hour signing of somebody from the transfer portal. I really feel like that is kind of the feeling in the waters right now in that QB room, is that they've got someone else that they're eyeing to come in and take another opportunity before fall gets going. And obviously that would be 8 quarterbacks in the QB room. We had 8 Rolo's first year. For us, that's not too many. You need bodies down there and people that are going to give you a good look. And so, but a lot of great things. Another QB, Armani Eden, I thought played very inspired and good, hard-nosed scramble football. 2 or 3 times the pocket collapsed, he got out of there and scampered on his feet to extend plays. Got a touchdown in there as well. So there's guys on this roster that can make plays. It's just, will they be ready come fall, that first game against Vandy? So a lot is still yet to be discovered in that position group primarily. And I'm a big fan of declaring that guy before fall camp gets going. Obviously, I don't think they're going to have a clear number 1 before then, but in terms of declaring, okay, who our team is, who are our leaders, who's going to get us ready for that first game against Vanderbilt, I like having my quarterback known and established before we get to work in fall camp. But that's still all yet in front of us, Jordan. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, the earlier they can declare, the earlier they can sort of choose their guy. I think that's better for everybody involved, even the guys who don't get the job. It just makes things so much more clear. And quarterback's one of those weird positions. Like you need a guy, right? You need the guy to be in charge, to get the reps, to have control of the offense, the confidence to go out and operate the offense where, hey, even if he makes a mistake, it's not going to just be, a quick hook and you're on the bench and then we're putting another guy in or something like that. It's not a really good place to be in, to operate in, for sure. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. As we mentioned, Edens threw a touchdown as well. We saw some, I think I neglected to mention Connor Rapo as well, getting run at quarterback in the spring game as well, the St. Louis school product. 8 quarterbacks, June would say that's far too little. Like he would carry double-digit quarterbacks on his roster. At the college level, he'd take as many as he could get, if nothing else, to make sure there were enough guys to throw balls at practice to all the receivers with all the routes being run. But yeah, it's college, man. Right? There's always enough room for more quarterbacks, and so that's going to be pretty interesting. We mentioned some of the receivers. We mentioned Leonard Lee, DJ Utu, another local product Manoa kid. He had an interception on defense. Just to kind of close out the thought on the defense, were there any other individuals that kind of stood out to you on that side of the football, or position groups, or what was it that kind of proved evidence as to that unit maybe being a little further along?
Yeah, I know it's not the same position group, but the other guy I was really watching was Jonah Pinoke, our probably wide receiver one at this point, out there sporting a different number. It said it was a callback to his high school days, wearing 11 or something like that. So I don't know what he was necessarily thinking right there, but looked great in his route running. Got some separation, a couple good catches. He looked really good. And similarly, Jonah Welch, I think is his last name. One of our linebackers, kind of an edge guy, applying a lot of great heat on the defense. And a lot of guys that we will soon know their names come this fall, because I think the defense is going to be whoever's ready and who's ready to step up. We don't have a lot of eldership on that defense, other than someone like Panay Pavi'i on the D line. And so we're going to be kind of looking to a lot of guys to kind of make their names known right off the bat, because of, obviously who we lost this past season in transfer portal. So, which can kind of be somewhat of an advantage to creating a competitive environment on the defense. Like, guys, it's open. Who wants to come and get this action on the defensive side of the football? We don't have guys that are established so much, so it's here for the taking. So you kind of have that competitive aggression for who wants to come and get it done on the defensive side.
Yeah, Jonah Kahavai Welch, the Kamehameha Schools product, I think is who you're referencing there. So yeah, it's a position group I think that a lot of people are high on, that linebacking core. And interestingly enough, and I didn't want to make a mention of this, but yesterday it was revealed, I guess, that Solo Turner entered the transfer portal. The Baylor transfer into Hawaii, who started off last season on the offensive side of the football as an H-back, was moved late in the season to safety, basically, and I thought played well, and I thought was going to be in the running for a lot of playing time this year. And I mean, these things happen. It's not a positive, I don't think. I don't know anything off the field or anything like that. Maybe things didn't work out with the new coaching staff or whatever. But I thought he was a player, and so he's a guy that maybe the spring game was sort of the deciding factor for him. Or I don't know, but I was a little surprised to see his name pop up in the portal. I think it was yesterday. It was within the last 48 hours or so. And so what could have been a big piece in Bowens, especially in that defensive secondary, which lost so much, right? Or even in that hybrid position, that's a loss, no matter which way you slice it, for the University of Hawaii, at least on the field.
It is. And I think that points to an interesting fact that, someone like Solo Turner could have really vibed with that last coaching staff. That sort of old school vibe that Coach Graham brought to the program really hit a chord with certain guys, and really didn't hit a chord with a lot of other guys. I just want to add that in there as a kind of full spectrum understanding that coaching staff, coaching styles, schemes, it's different from player to player, preferences. And a guy like that, obviously from the mainland, wants to change it up, see some different opportunities that might be in front of them. So yeah, it's a loss, but at the same time, we've got a lot of great things happening right now for the program. A lot of signees from big schools, great talent coming back to the island. It's a positive thing right now, what's going on with UH football. If not everyone's bought in, hey, so long, aloha, we wish you well, but it's a good time to be around the program right now.
Yeah, I mean, those things happen, right? Like, not even the most popular of coaching staffs, like, it's not for everybody, you know, and you know, I'm just bummed as sort of a fan, because I thought that move to defense really sort of unlocked something, and I thought he was going to be, you know, a good player for the University of Hawaii, and we wish him the best, you know, wherever he lands, and you know, it'll be another program, Baylor, Hawaii, and now wherever he ends up. So you know, the best to Solo there as he continues on in his development. So, you know, and there's other guys coming in, right? Like Kalana Makaula's coming in. We talked about that last show from USC, former Punahou product. Probably, you know, of similar ilk when it comes to, you know, I mean, that's a guy that's probably going to compete for playing time at a position very similar to Solo Turner, like Kalana, one of those hybrid, right? He played some linebacker at USC, played some nickel, played some safety. Like, that's probably where he projects for the University of Hawaii. And, you know, I think Solo Turner would probably be in that mix if he was still around. So, you know, I mean, they're bringing in new guys, and that's what happens. New coaching staff, you see it. That's commonplace. And so, you know, you got new guys coming in, some other defensive backs, some transfers, right? That'll be arriving, you know, after the spring semester into the summer and whatnot. So that's the nature of college football these days. It's just the transient aspect of it, and all of the changeover, and that, you know, it was kind of brought up in some of the comments we got on YouTube from our guy Al from VA, as usual, who is always, and we appreciate you, Al, because he brought up the guys like Kilohana Hassenritter, right, who's going to go to Oregon. The Kamehameha Hawaii product listed as like a fullback for Oregon, and there's been quite a few connections from Hawaii to Dan Lanning's new staff and recruits coming in at the University of Oregon. And interestingly enough, Dan Lanning is a former assistant under Todd Graham, and so there's been a little bit of that, right? Alik Terry's back there as an offensive analyst. He's on staff after, you know, being an assistant for the University of Hawaii. I think one of the other assistants is up there as well at Oregon, and so they've gotten a couple of Hawaii transfers, Hassenritter included. So it's kind of interesting, right? And Al asked, right, is that bad optics for Big Island recruiting, as Hassenritter was one of the more high-profile local recruits, you know, a couple of years ago? I don't know if it's bad optics or anything like that. You know, things didn't quite fit in with this new coaching staff, that for him to decide to pull himself out of the transfer portal, because I believe he entered before the coaching change. You know, he asked about guys like Adam Stack, who's another former Oregon Duck who transferred back home to the University of Hawaii, Kamehameha Kapalama product. You know, didn't really get a whole lot of playing time, so you sort of understand why he's, you know, looking for another opportunity, with Matt Shipley handling both the kicking and the punting duties last year, and May as well again this year, and handled them pretty darn well, in my opinion. So yeah, it's just but just to kind of illustrate, you know, that it's a two-way street. Like this is how it works now.
Let me just throw this in there for the faithful listening, that the ego of the college athlete these days is a fickle beast. If a coach looks at them the wrong way, they're exploring alternative options. It's just the nature of our business right now. And you have all sorts of things happening with these guys. I remember Keith Kirkwood for us. You know, this is back way before the current transfer portal issue. His grandma was starting to die of cancer, and he wanted to be closer to home, and got a chance to play at Temple. And so there are so many outside circumstances. And, you know, we touched on it earlier, someone like Solo Turner was recruited by that Graham coaching staff. When that coaching staff leaves, your connection, your the friendships you build with that coaching staff, and that feeling of belonging, they want you here, is gone, and you have to kind of summon it or create it with this new coaching staff. It's a weird vibe. It's a different feeling. There's so many outside circumstances that come into the recruiting than just if this person can come in and fill a piece, and getting the biggest name guy from, somewhere like the Big Island. There's so much that goes into recruiting a guy to come and keeping them here to stay. It's by no means a fault on a coaching staff or anything like that. It's just the nature of things these days. And college players, it looks like, are going to be more and more excited to explore alternative options with their freedom in this transfer portal. Jordan, it's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah, that's well put. It really is just the reality of college football in 2022, and with everything involved, right? The transfer portal, name, image, likeness, and all these opportunities. And speaking of name, image, likeness, and I did want to make a mention. Yeah. This is something I wanted to get way more in depth with you, Hunter, but I figured we'd probably run out of time today. But I don't think it's super time sensitive. But Nico Iamaleava, who is a consensus 5-star recruit quarterback who was on campus last week on like an unofficial, I guess, it's a huge deal. There's no way he's coming to the University of Hawaii, but just him being like, he's a 5-star, he's verbally committed to Tennessee. There's rumors that he is in line for an $8 million NIL deal. Once he gets out of high school, he's a Long Beach Poly quarterback. Again, that's a whole, like, we can spend half the show talking about this and just what it means, the fact that he was just there for like a photo op at Ching. But that just wanted to kind of make a mention of that. And as well as we sort of close this episode out, talking spring game pretty much all episode, but for the overtime, I did want to kind of tease that for next week, as well as another conversation that I wanted to get in with you, Hunter, next week is the NFL draft coming up next week, Thursday. Yeah. And, will Calvin Turner maybe get picked in the later rounds? I think he's the one guy from the University of Hawaii that stands in line to potentially be drafted this year. Because I think that dude would be a good addition just about anywhere. Maybe the Niners, once they trade Deebo Samuel, will be looking for another a guy who can run and catch. Just a subtle little add in there. But yeah, any final thoughts, Hunter, before we wrap this thing up?
Yeah, no, it's the spring game was fantastic. For all of the season ticket holders listening, I mean, aloha has been restored to the program. And again, I'm just one person, but it feels as if things have been righted, where wrong has been kind of the vibe for the last couple of years. And I have no doubt in my mind that this momentum, not only with the team, but on campus, the game day atmosphere will continue into the season. Consider supporting the program again. I know it's scary. We're out in public again. There's no mask. What does this look like? Everything's different. Aloha Stadium isn't a part of our game day atmosphere any longer. It was fantastic. And I think we are going to experience a lot of great joy with this new coaching staff and what they are trying to offer as a product, a winning product for UH athletics and UH football. So get excited, go on YouTube, look up some of the posts that, our good friend Jaron put up there with ESPN Honolulu. Get excited for UH football, because it's a great time to be around the program right now.
It really is. There is, the excitement's real for sure. And again, it all leads to the fall in the season, but yeah, it's fun. And it's fun to just talk to people at the grocery store. You see them around, fun to just run into folks and they want to talk UH football. And to me, that is sort of my barometer for the interest, for the health of the program. And again, that doesn't mean everything. Like it comes down to dollars and cents. It comes down to wins and losses. But it's fun to just see people, and that's what they want to talk about. And I think that's good. That's healthy for the program. So that'll about do it for us here on episode 34. Again, big mahalo to our sponsor, Xanthison, as well as Spectrum Mobile and Hawaii USA FCU, excuse me. For Hunter, for our guy Jaron on the controls as well. Jordan saying so long. We'll see you next week here on Hawaii Football. Now we're getting up to episode 35, and they still haven't kicked us off the air. So far, so good. We'll see everybody next week. Aloha.
You've been listening to Hawaii Football Now with Jordan Helle and Hunter Hughes, all from ESPN Honolulu.